Hey everybody, it's me Lara. How's your week been? Well, it's been actually a really emotional, relationship-packed week, hasn't it? With this full moon that we've just gone through where we've got the pink moon and it's the full moon in Libra, let me tell you. So highlights on relationships, on multiple, like not just romantic relationships, I'm talking about even with your friendships, with your working relationships. It's all change. It's all like everything up in the air. It's having a reshuffle like a pack of cards. And what's more, you'll probably end this week with feeling that perhaps things could have kind of got off on a better foot or kind of made you feel that you were blindsided in some way. Having to deal with a lot of emotional stuff from other people. And it can sometimes, particularly when the path has been a bit kind of rugged for yourself, it can feel that, it's just like a buckaroo set, where it's like one thing on the saddle that's just too much for you to carry. So just stop. Just understand that everything you see and feel is probably all what I would call a pile of shit, by the way. In the big scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. There's a massive awakening going on right now. And this awakening is awakening the very cells within us. We're receiving cosmic downloads, from the planetary arrangement and the energy that we is being directed at us, from the universe. The cosmic downloads are upgrading our actual physical DNA. And maybe you might have been feeling sort of like tingly, or kind of like a tingly feeling on your head, or pins and needles kind of feeling, or no matter how much water that you drink, it feels like you're just retaining water, and that water is magnifying that signal. Let me tell you, it is really magnifying that signal. I spoke a lot about the birth signs and what these birth signs actually mean for our character. And, I also spoke a little bit about the moon signs. And the moon actually is to do with your emotions, your feeling, and your character, probably at a more intimate core. For example, if you're Gemini and you discover that you've got Scorpio rising, then you absolutely may as well actually understand right now that you've probably got more of a Scorpio personality, even though you were born under Gemini. So how do you know what your rising sign is? Well, there are probably some online calculators out there that you put your date of birth and your time of birth, and also, where the geographic location of where you're actually born. And it will work out what your rising sign, your moon sign actually is. Your sun sign is the sign that you're born under. And, your moon sign is the sign that was there at the time of your birth. Like, for those born last week, the moon was in Libra, okay? So if they were born round about that time, then their moon sign would be Libra going forward. But I'm Taurus with Leo rising. So my moon sign was in Leo, at the time of my birth. So this is kind of to give you a little bit of homework to do and find out what your moon sign is, because next video I'm going to do, we're going to actually take a look at the what the moon sign actually means, and what your for all the signs. So if your moon is in Taurus, or if it's in Gemini, or if your moon sign is actually in Leo, then I'm going to be covering that in a video over the next few days. But getting back to how you may be feeling right now, there is a lot going on. It is a bit like shuffling the cards. And, the atmospheric pressure could be feeling quite intense for you, particularly if you're an empath. Hands up who's an empath. And particularly if, you're in the habit of being very sensitive. Now, there's two types of sensitive, I find. You've got actually the empath sensitive, and you've also got sensitive as in people who are sensitive and reactive sensitive. And in my experience, they are not the same thing. No, they're not. I have met people in my lifetime who are just reactively sensitive because they've got multiple triggers, for argument's sake. And I've met people who are empaths that don't have multiple triggers. suppose you could get a crossover of both, but I like to kind of, in order for me to get an understanding of how my own operating system works and how other people, particularly when I've spent nearly 30 years reading other people, my mind takes a lot of characteristics into consideration when I'm doing so. So, we don't just start off by, what birth sign are you? There's your moon sign, we've got your others. There's 12 different signs in your chart, by the way, and they all have a say on how your life will turn out. So like your life, your blueprint of what's expected and what your potential is when you're born versus what you actually realize as well. Because many of us, come off the path. Many of us are in the process of writing the chapters in our book. All right. And the chapters can be many different chapters. Your book could be 20 chapters long, 10 chapters long, 100 chapters long, and we will get to each chapter heading. It's how we get there, isn't it? The journey. It's not the going from the A to B. It's actually all the little roads in between that define us, that build our character, that build our knowledge. We're human beings. We are designed to evolve, we're designed to learn, we're designed to take on board what's going round about us and profile that and learn from that, make no mistake about it. So when it comes to every person you interact with, like what's been happening this week since we've had the first new moon, the new moon in this sign a week past Friday, then of course that's been something quite, I suppose, magnificent in one way, because I've got to say the moon did look particularly, magnificent, particularly coming up for the full moon last week. However, the reaction it's causing us to have is really pushing us to dig deep within inside, reach in, because we want to and need to discover a new level and a new layer about ourselves. If you felt that you've been coming to the end of one road, but you're looking for the next road, to just appear so that and a little signpost there, so that to go down that road, or you could be faced with multiple roads right now, then you kind of need to, in the absence of not understanding which one to take, and the only way that you can do this is to sit back in your flow and ask yourself, what do I want? What's best for me? And where do I feel inwardly, intuitively, do I feel compelled to go? And that compelling feeling is like a magnetic field from your solar plexus. All right, so we're talking about quite a few things today, as you've probably realized, to do with the way that the moon affects our relationships, the way that we react to those relationships, and all the different reasons that we react in certain ways, versus also to do with finding your flow, finding your flow and how to go into that in order to feel that magnetic pull in your solar plexus, right? So that's round about the top part of your stomach area, for those that don't know that's where they feel that magnetic flow. All right, people talk about flow and you think, swimming in water, but flow is an energetic feed that you get from your inner system. And I think probably creatives, when they're being creative, are actually very good at identifying their natural flow. But for others that are very logical, then it can be harder to find the flow, because, the training of being mind-led, everything has to have a thought, everything has to make sense, everything has to be logical. And I know, because I grew up with my dad, he was a logical man. And I love working things out logically, don't get me wrong. But I also feel that I've got a huge intuitive voice. And I know for many of you out there, the intuitive voice is that little voice that every now and again it pops up and you go, oh, I've got a different feeling there, or a different phrase or different words in my mind. And I really, and to train your mind to go towards that, to actually take that on board, to use that as your driver, to use that as the kind of voice that tells you do this or do that, that can be a foreign feeling. It takes a bit of time to get used to.